So finally, the players are on court. One or two of you may be thinking, why are we delayed? Why are we late? Well, I have no clue. What I do know is that finally the players are on court now, as I see Jannik Sinner shaking the hands of the umpire. So he's ready to go, as I'm sure is Daniil Medvedev. Are you surprised by this final, Damien, in terms of Alcaraz obviously losing yesterday, I guess is the what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, there's nothing surprising about Medvedev making to the finals. You're right. Sinner, maybe by the time when he was struggling against Evans in the opening round, and also he said he was sick, right? So in that way, maybe it is a touch surprising for sure. He was also struggling physically against Dimitrov a bit in the third set, so it's or like in the second, I can't remember, but it's Alcaraz Sinner. It has been a tough matchup for Carlos for whatever reason. He cannot handle the pace coming at him yet, despite being one of the quickest players on the tour. And yeah, I don't know if it's that surprising, but Sinner Medvedev. This is the Sinner problem matchup. So now it's his turn to sort of try to
Yeah.
outmaneuver an opponent that he has been struggling against.
6-0. Those figures actually remind me of the fact that it was 6-0 between Swiatek and Coco Gauff.
7 even, I think, wasn't
Was
it?
it 7? Okay,
I mean, at
okay.
some point it had to be 6.
Yeah,
That's
true.
true.
But I thought it was going into, was it Cincinnati this year? I think.
Cincinnati. Yeah, I'll
Um,
check that. Yeah, but
I thought it was 6, but yeah, it could be 7. But maybe the WTA accounting some kind of like
7. Yes, 7.
there was a barbecue once and they played, and maybe the WTA
No,
are
no,
including that.
no. It's all like big events. Basically, San Diego being the smallest one. So yeah, it was 7. Yeah, but at some point
So
it had to be 6. Yeah.
but I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about the comparisons between these two sort of situations. I was just thinking that with Coco, it was probably a case of when, if you like, and I guess you could say the same with Sinner. Sinner will beat Daniil Medvedev, I'm sure, if they play each other another half a dozen times or 7 times. But I don't know. I think I could see a way for Coco a bit more than I could for Sinner. That's not to say that Sinner won't win today. Sinner could play as well as he did yesterday, and Medvedev could have an off day, and in 2 hours from now, Sinner's broken the duck. But I don't know. I just saw more ways for Coco to break that run than Jannik.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, obviously, it is like one of the matchups where Sinner's one dimensionality is exposed. He should be better at this matchup than, I don't know, Andrei Rublev, for example. So
Mm,
far, we haven't really seen it.
mm,
But maybe, I mean, I'm definitely of the idea that, if they play 20 times, there's no way that Medvedev is going to win all of these matches.
got it.
However, is it going to happen today? There's definitely something new that like Sinner would have to show. Miami was a bit of a hit, like for me, confidence wise, in terms of Sinner beating Medvedev.
Yeah.
There I thought that Sinner might actually have a really good shot. I know he was probably a little bit tired of that Alcaraz clash as well. However, he had a day off, so it's not like he was playing
True.
on the next day or like, I don't know, 15 hours later. He was playing like 40 hours later. So I thought it was not really a factor and that this is a good chance. He tried to mix it up a little bit more. He did look incredibly uncomfortable doing it. Does it have to be like this today? Hopefully not. And then we might actually see a good match. But if we see just a repeat of Miami, I wouldn't be surprised at all, obviously. And he's won sets against Medvedev before, and I think they haven't really have they played at the Slam?
Not to the
I
best of my
don't
knowledge,
think
no.
so, right? Yeah, so taking 3 sets, it kind of indicates that you might have a shot. I actually watched the first Medvedev Sinner match live, even, and Sinner watched that. Sinner won a set there as well. Obviously, there was this one very tight battle at the ATP Finals.
Which was the
Rotterdam
match
this
you
year
said
as
you
well.
saw live?
Marseille, their first match, second round in 2020.
Ah, okay.
Sinner hit this like ridiculous shot back to the court, sort of getting his racket up into the air, and that's basically what I remember from from that one. But after winning the first set 6-1, Sinner never really stood a chance in the next two. Um, Yeah, so basically, it's not like he hasn't come close. Well, he came close on one occasion, and still took sets on two more. I mean, there are some silver linings. There are some
Yeah.
silver linings.
I mean, I'm not, we probably sound a bit like we're going in the way the vibe is. We're going into Gasquet, Nadal, Monfils, Djokovic, etc., or even just sort of Djokovic, Tsitsipas right now, or Djokovic, Rublev. I don't think we feel quite as convinced about that as the outcome. But there
Yeah.
is the thing is, I guess the kryptonite for Medvedev that we just have heard really pretty frequently in the last 2 years is the serve and volley that we sort of noticed that Djokovic was doing quite effectively in Paris Bercy, and now it's become a template for Djokovic and Alcaraz. It's just not really in Sinner's locker, right?
Yeah, I think I would go, maybe a bit further back to maybe again Tsitsipas in Cincinnati, where he just started serving volleying on like every point and beat Medvedev this way. But yeah, the variety, the net play, the drop shots, luring Medvedev forward a bit, maybe wrecking his court positioning a bit. That's not really in Sinner's arsenal. He likes to stand there and pounds the ground strokes. And against Carlos Alcaraz, it works. Against Daniil Medvedev, so far in his career, not necessarily. But he's got a good team. Obviously, they're gonna start at some point leaning into these options, and maybe with enough repeats, he's gonna get better at them. He has played some doubles as well in the past, which probably helps with that too. As I'm just talking, he has won the first 2 points of the match. So
There we go. Good start. Um, I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'll leave you for a few minutes while I make some lunch. But yesterday, my thoughts on Medvedev Zverev are pretty thin. That it was just a case of one or two games basically deciding the match. But in fact, possibly even just one game. That one game in the first set when Zverev gets broken as he's serving to stay in the first set. That was it basically, and it wasn't. There was a bit of a couple of loose shots from Zverev, and that was it basically. Regarding Sinner and Alcaraz, it was a case of Sinner just being slightly better than his opponent in three or four critical areas. I.e., I think Sinner served a bit better than his opponent. As a result of that serve, I do think it meant that he also returned a bit better than his opponent. And then finally, the forehand from Sinner was just electric, and it wasn't from Alcaraz, which I think has been a on-off problem for him in the last few months since Wimbledon. I know you said that you just caught because you didn't watch it live, I don't think, but you have watched Sinner Alcaraz retrospectively. What were your take?
oh, I actually watched it live just on my phone at the
Oh,
tea
okay.
party that we were talking about. No, my feelings on Sinner Alcaraz. I mean, somehow Yannick Sinner is one of the few players who just consistently get Alcaraz on the back foot.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's surprising to me that with his court coverage, with how fast he is, Alcaraz actually cannot respond. I mean, he cannot absorb the hitting from Sinner that well. Is the hitting from Sinner, the best in the sport? Maybe that's why he's not struggling. I don't know, against, let's say, Tsitsipas or um, Rublev. On the when he's on the back foot against them, he doesn't really fall into that much trouble. And yeah, it seems like for now, when this is the case, Sinner should remain a very tough matchup for Alcaraz. I do agree also with something that I saw on Twitter. I think it was Matt Willis who said it, that like just saying, okay, Sinner is like a kryptonite for Alcaraz, and sort of just saying that, it kind of underestimates Sinner at the same time, and his talent, because it's not like he's just one guy. He's not like Iji Vesely to Djokovic, or like Ivo Karlovic to Djokovic, who I don't know who else maybe. You know what I mean. He's not like this one guy that this
right.
great player struggles with. He's basically also one of these great players. So I get that, but at the same time, there are lots of similarly oriented, like lots of players with similar play styles, similar rankings as well to Sinner, whom Alcaraz does not struggle against like that. So Yeah, great performance obviously from the Italian. There was some absurd hitting in the first set from both. I think the quality of the rallies, the quality of stroke production, but eventually the second set just sort of maybe leaves us with a bit of a different image as well of a much tamer loss than it could have been.
Yeah, I sort of take a little bit of what Matt Willis says, but this is actually this tweet here from Owen kind of suggests that it's not really kryptonite because actually, when we talk of kryptonite or problem opponents, it's just somebody. For example, maybe Maxime Cressy could be a problem for Medvedev for some of the reasons we highlighted,
Yeah.
or maybe that's we look at those people as or just like this guy should not have a 6-0 head to head, or even just have a favorable head to head. Maybe just on the face of it, maybe Borna Coric against Rafa, for example, though they haven't played that many times. But then it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe the Coric backhand and the line, maybe this, maybe that explains it. With Sinner, although we are kind of a little bit surprised that he has such a good head-to-head with Carlos,
Oh,
it's not as crazy as some of those examples I just gave. And then with those examples, we have to try and explain it. With Sinner, it's harder to explain. And in a way, maybe we don't have to explain. It's just two top 10 players who've got a very close head-to-head.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how late you are, by the way, but
I'm a,
Sinner just hit like this sort of accidental forehand cross court that was very short angled, and Medvedev still made the pass. So I guess it's it's not the first flop at the net that Sinner has had in this match, because he still technically hasn't hit a volley or something, or at least hit a tough volley. But that was definitely quite surprising for him that after this great shot, Medvedev still catches him off guard.
I'm about to see it, so I'm quite far behind you actually.
Uh,
I've just seen the
but
double flop.
uh-huh.
I've
Yeah,
just seen the double flop.
I've just seen another great point from Sinner, actually, 1530. But what was I supposed to talk about? Okay. So like this tweet from Owen, for me is maybe a little bit much even. Like this is towards the side of underestimating Sinner a little bit. But yeah, I think we could probably start looking at it as if, I don't know, Alcaraz, Rune, Sinner, the three main talents of the youngest generation. And yeah, the head to head between one of them is between two of them is super close. For now, it is like that. They're probably gonna play like 1,000 more times in the future. It looks likely at this point. So yeah, that's maybe more how I'm looking at this. If it was like, I don't know, 6-2 Sinner, maybe my perspective would be different. Also,
Yeah,
you kind of have to remember that one of the matches that Alcaraz won against Sinner, and in fact the most important one, he saved the match point at, and it was
yeah,
the match that led him to his first Grand Slam title.
yeah,
And these are things that could like really change the course of history, because then we have Alcaraz with 0 Slam titles going into this year, maybe injured as well, like he was at the end of the year, and we also have one of Tiafoe, Sinner, Ruud, or Kachanov with a Grand Slam title. So yeah, it easily could have been 5-3 Sinner and not 4-4 all.
yeah. Right, absolutely. Um, Yeah, I think also you get a day like yesterday, and it just happens where one guy plays slightly better in those departments that Owen was probably thinking of. Sinner served better, Sinner returned better, Sinner's forehand was a big difference too. Carlos as well. I think we are still seeing something at the moment. I can't quite put my finger on it exactly. I'm not sure even he can. But there is something since Wimbledon where he's just lost a couple of percent, and that's enough for him to suddenly be 3-1 down in a best of three match. Losing a tight tiebreak. He had chances yesterday in the first set. He was up a break. He had a chance for a double break, didn't take it, and so that match could have been very, very different if Alcaraz wins that first set. But anyway, listen, I'm going to check out because I am a couple of points behind you anyway, and it's just got to 1-1. And I'll be back maybe at the end of the first set.
Right. So we are in the third game. I did miss a few points in the end of the second one, so I didn't exactly see how Sinner lost the small lead that he built up with this great backhand cross court winner. That was again really sharp angled, and I honestly didn't think he made it. when I saw the ball. There was a comment from Sean as well. I think, yeah, Sinner played well at the net yesterday. He'll have to replicate that somehow. Indeed. I think part of that maybe is because, well, he was going to the net sort of with good timing. He was going to the net to maybe finish off the rally rather than have it as point winning tactic in general. Against Medvedev, maybe that has to sort of change. Maybe there has to be more work done with the volleying. But indeed, yesterday he looked adequate at least. Now he actually served volleys for 30-15, but Medvedev did not make the return, so cannot really judge anything there. But with Medvedev's returning position, this will surely come up a few more times. That very deep returning position does not help him absorb the pace of Sinner's next first serve. So it's 40-15. This would, winning this one obviously would be a very special moment for the Italian. He has won his first big title, as you might call them, this year in Toronto. That's huge. He has made a Grand Slam semi, which was pretty huge as well. However, he played Djokovic and didn't really have a shot, but still. And yeah, this would be another step, actually, beating Medvedev, someone who he has lost 6 times. And, well, maybe not necessarily in the biggest of matches before this year, but this year, Rotterdam final, Miami final, third final already that he would lose to him. That's pretty huge. Before this year, they actually weren't playing in like the biggest of matches, right? Most of the time it was like earlier rounds, round robin at the ATP finals, quarter final in Vienna, quarter final in Marseille, and a second round in Marseille, another edition of that event. Anyway, 2-1 up, two missed return, well, three, I guess, missed returns, missed first of returns in a row from Medvedev. So far, the fact that he's standing so deep does not help him that much. An interesting post that I'm just seeing, and actually I saw it like a while ago, but you guys probably are aware that Lucy Shafazova, the 2015 French Open runner-up, 2015, I think I'm right? Made her professional return this week, and she got this wild card to a 25k in Rem, and she only got it because there were like a couple of her nieces were playing that event as well, and she wanted to play doubles with her niece. And apparently, this was very weird because she won her first round match, and then the ITF sort of defaulted her in a way. I mean, they disallowed her to compete because this counts like as an official return to professional tennis, and it needed to be signaled to the ITF prior to the appearance. Just very weird that it happened like that. Anyway, the event was not streamed, so unfortunately we could not watch her return, which she won a match, then was supposed to play the second, but apparently she just wants to play once and then sort of appear in some exhibition events or something like that, and yeah, wanted to play with her niece in doubles. It's also wild that the ITF only does it after she won her first round match, right? These are things that should have been done beforehand, but well, right now I think Mona Bartel gets to advance to the quarters without playing. But anyway, the changeover is done, so let's go back to Medvedev Sinner. As now Medvedev prepares to serve, I think he landed this backhand down the line, but Sinner is great there with the court coverage. He gets this rally easily back to neutral, maybe even slightly ahead for him. They're trading shots down the middle, but right now it's Medvedev who catches him a bit off guard with the depth. And Sinner nets a backhand. He was just trying to have volley. Yeah, and I guess these are the points where we actually start seeing, the issue for Sinner in this matchup. He's like trying to trade big blows with Medvedev, but Medvedev is just playing off his pace really well, and it's not really doing all that much damage to the Russian. Maybe it will be easier for Jannik on his own serve. I mean, it has to be, especially if he's serving well. But yeah, here on the Medvedev serve, it seems like it's very easy to just keep playing a neutral rally with Sinner for Daniil. And so far, he has been doing just that. Sort of to manage to get a lead in that one, Sinner has to find like a very good angle, which is risky. It takes at least a bit of risk to try to pull it off. In the second game of the match, he managed that a couple of times. Right now, he's 0-40 down on return. Medvedev with this rushed +1 forehand, but at 40 love, it's probably not going to end up mattering. It definitely is not going to end up mattering because he just hits not a good plus, this time a great +1 forehand. Had his feet in much better line this time, and just did everything right. It was a fairly easy shot as well. Basically had the open court after a serve out wide. 15 minutes to all. So far we haven't learned all that much. Let's see how Sinner approaches his next service game and whether we're going to see some sort of an attack on the Medvedev serve, especially because so far on serve he has been comfortable, and when he gets the advantage in the rally, he is capitalizing on it. Will he? Ooh, yeah, pretty tough direction there, the inside in forehand, but it was a good choice since Medvedev made his move to the left side of the court. Sinner tries to kill it down the line with the inside in forehand. I guess he didn't actually know that Medvedev was making that move though, because he probably would not have played it as aggressively if he did. But yeah, if Sinner lands the first serve, he needs to be taking advantage of positions like that. And speaking of Sinner's net play, there's the serve and volley out wide. He gets an extremely easy volley on top of the net. No way Medvedev gets to it if you just play it into the left side of the court, wherever really, at whichever pace, whichever spin, and Sinner nets that. So it's a very poor error to go 0-30 down. And it really because a lot of the time we say that because Medvedev is standing so deep, he kind of makes the first volley very tough for you because the ball is so, well, I don't know if heavy, because there's not that much spin on it, but just just hard. The ball is so powerful because he gets that more time to make the swing. However, here definitely wasn't the case. And also wasn't the case on the next point where Sinner serves and volleys again out wide. Medvedev tries to. I don't really know what even the attempt was, honestly. I mean, this is a point that really depicts well what sort of issues Medvedev faces when when the opponent serve and volleys him out wide. And this time Sinner makes the put away, which I think was even easier, and also a forehand volley he seems more comfortable with. Now, this is where Medvedev makes it tough for him, but Sinner actually handles himself pretty well. Serves and volleys for the third time in a row. Plays this good volley off a low dipping pass, well, a low dipping return from Medvedev. And still, Daniil had this open backhand down the line opportunity. However, he does not make it, and it lands in the net. So 30 all. But yeah, now we see just Sinner running to the net on every serve, and this might be something that he will be doing in this match. Now he stays back, goes for a +1 forehand, and Medvedev will not make this backhand pass cross court. But yeah, this time Sinner stayed back. However, he got the sort of +1 opportunity with the forehand where he needed to advance, further into the court. So basically, we're gonna see Sinner with like 50 net approaches in this match, I think. Is that good? I mean, probably. We'll see how he handles himself there, because so far Medvedev is not making his life all that hard. Now they're in the sort of territory that Medvedev likes, so they're back to trading just blows down the middle, and Sinner makes the backhand cross-court error. Yes, I mean, from the sort of early days of this match, I mean, we definitely see that it's going to be very important for Medvedev to win most of these rallies, where they're just basically trading neutral rally shots with Sinner upping the pace, Medvedev just playing off whatever comes at him. And for Sinner, it's going to be really important to win all of these easy serve and volley points, I guess. His placement on the serve as well. We'll see how good it is, because this one just now it wasn't too carefully placed, I would say, and eventually it didn't really give him that sort of an advantage that he was hoping for. And now we're back to trading shots down the middle, and it's Sinner who makes the error again. So it's funny because this match is so simple tactically, right? When you think about it. I mean, I'm not saying it's simple for Sinner to win it, or even that it's simple for Medvedev to win it. However, you very often can tell by like the first two shots of the rally who's going to win it. We also see if the drop shot makes an appearance. In the last Sinner Medvedev match in Miami, Sinner tried to go for 9 drop shots, I think, and never won a point. Oh my god, that would have been a horrendous error from Sinner. Not necessarily in the fact that he would have missed the shot. However, he played this forehand plus one just straight at Medvedev, and Medvedev tried to slice it down the line. It barely missed it. So Sinner is a bit lucky there to save this break point. Definitely not the right direction, but we are back at deuce. But yeah, as I was talking about it, in Miami, Sinner hit 9 drop shots and I think never won a point after them. So maybe he's just gonna eliminate them from his Medvedev playing repertoire. He should not be eliminating these aces down the tee because he's just hit one. That's something that he will be requiring. Hello, Nurlan. Glad to see you. I think it was never in doubt that you were gonna show up. I think it's out as well, yeah. The umpire says so, and the electronic line calling says so as well. How Sinner handles himself on second serve as well. This one was very, very weak. He still got an easy, a nice plus one opportunity, I would say, with the forehand, but he just missed it wide. Would have had Medvedev stretched to his forehand corner and also would have been at the net. So, but we didn't end up seeing, you know, whatever he would have done with this. I think in this game so far, his first serve percentage, Sinners, I mean, has been very, very high. However, now he misses his first serve for the second time in a row. Uh, there's the drop shot for the first time from Sinner, and he should win this point, but it was not a good drop shot at all. Yeah, he is gonna win the point. Medvedev, you know, the sheer distance that he had to cover made his options pretty limited. However, yeah, that drop shot was definitely not good at all. But he wins the a point with a drop shot against Medvedev for the first time since Rotterdam. There were some nice angles on the forehand as well from Sinner there, and that was what gave him the opportunity, especially this inside out that he didn't really like force, right? He just played whatever was needed really. There's another serve and volley, but Medvedev gets back into the point with a lob. Sinner did make the smash, but it was like just, you know, get it in play rather than win the point. However, he takes advantage again of a pretty tame backhand down the line from Medvedev, slams the forehand and wins the point. Even Daniil Medvedev cannot cover that shot. 23 minutes, 3-2 up, Sinner. There was that first breakpoint save which he basically won with his first delivery. However, made it a little tricky with giving the ball back to Medvedev. Um, on my screen, they're also showing a stat of most hardcourt wins since 2018, and Daniil Medvedev leads that one by like a huge, huge amount over Djokovic, over Tsitsipas, over Rublev, over Zverev, over Deminor. Deminor, by the way, 149. But of course, he has a lot more losses than Djokovic as well. When it comes to win percentage, it's by far Djokovic who has the best out of this short list that they're showing on my screen. However, he is a hardcore specialist after all. That's what he says, and he is right. Also in Beijing at the same time, we have the women's event, just one more singles match left. I think, in fact, just one more match left. As Elena Rybakina is playing Mirra Andreeva, the Russian teenager, 16-year-old, in fact, was up 6-2 4-2. But it seems like Rybakina will win since she took the last 7 games and is 3-love up. Also finishing as the action in Shanghai today, where we have just 3 matches going on. Roman Safiurin playing Andy Murray. That's a good round one, not gonna lie. Maybe if Sinner Medvedev are down first, then I'm gonna catch some of that as well after the stream. But we also have Yu Xiu Su leading Max Purcell by a set and a break. Maybe a bit of a surprise incoming there. And also Christian Garin playing Alexander Kovacevic. Garin is up a set. They're just starting the second. Ace from Medvedev to go 15-love up. And yeah, these matches will end the main tour action for today. Beijing obviously is finishing on the men's side. However, on the women's, we still have 4 more third round matches tomorrow. And the quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, while the men will be competing in Shanghai at the same time. And again, on the Medvedev serve, it's what he likes. Playing off Sinner's pace down the middle. Now he approaches the... will he approach the net? He will, but he doesn't have to play the smash. Yeah, when he doesn't have the serve advantage, Sinner has been really struggling so far. And I was about to check, I forgot, but I was about to check, his first serve percentage, which I suspected was very high, and indeed it is very high, 78. 18 out of 23 first serves made. And that will be vital. That will be vital. He cannot keep it up like this, not while risking so much, but Medvedev is also landing like almost all of his first serves, by the way, 13 out of 14. So that's also a big part in why all the rallies on the Russian serve are basically dictated by him. And I don't want to say dictated by him because he's not dictating actually in them. It's Sinner who's dictating, but it's actually Medvedev who feels comfortable, right, in this sort of spot. So now he just misses this wide forehand, yeah, narrowly, but it doesn't really matter again because it's 40-love. So we've seen a couple of +1 forehand misses from Medvedev at 40-love, which ultimately do not matter even one bit. Medvedev shows that he is a better volleyer than Sinner on this next point as well. Nice drive volley, and then the finish, good touch. So we are back to even. Yeah, both players have been landing their first serve so much, and perhaps we're gonna see a game soon where one of them has more issues with that, and that could be the game that ends up deciding this set, right? I mean, especially Sinner feels like so far when he is not landing his first serve, he is in big trouble generally, because then he is just um, forced to play what Medvedev wants to play. Ooh, and after this second serve, Medvedev just goes with the forehand return down the line. Wow. Pretty surprising shot for Sinner for sure. to do it from this far behind the court as well takes some skill, but we know that Medvedev likes it there and feels comfortable there. Is this the game when Sinner misses all of his first serves and loses? I don't know, but he has just missed the second one as well. Interesting choice from Medvedev to run around the forehand and then not do anything with it. And while it wasn't why he directly lost the point, I think it did screw up his court positioning as well on the next one, because he was just so wide to his backhand corner. And then when he had to quickly, move his body, quickly change his footwork, he made the error. Sinner did not capitalize on a good first serve here, and Medvedev should be back in this rally, unless Sinner has other ideas. Looks like he does not. So now we're back to the ultimate dilemma of, can Sinner out-hit Medvedev? And he actually does. He actually does put in a very good attempt. I think eventually, Medvedev did not have to miss that forehand cross court, but I would classify it as a forced error, maybe, the down the line backhand from Sinner, and then very quickly the change to forehand cross court. It did put Medvedev in some sort of trouble. He had to play it like almost on the run. He was a bit stretched. So I guess it is a point that Sinner wins like this. And now a serve and volley, and actually a very nice reaction there from the Italian. That wasn't that easy when it comes to, the first volleys that you can get against Medvedev. Sometimes you just get a put away, but this one was not, and he gets a very nice stop volley off of it. So 40-15 Sinner. This game looked a little dangerous for Sinner, even though it was just love 15, when he couldn't find his first serve. Ooh. Now he finds his first serve and goes to the net. But this was as well quite interesting. Well, the angle on this sliced serve out wide was really sharp, and I think it was also pretty slow because it was a sliced serve out wide. And Medvedev finds this wicked forehand return cross court, which you're never gonna get to as a serve and volleying player. You're just never gonna get to it. In fact, if you stayed at the baseline, you would have issues getting to it, but at least you would have a shot. But if you're just running forward towards the net, you have absolutely zero chances of getting there. So I guess, you can see that sometimes it is a double-edged sword. Can Sinner close out the game, or will Medvedev make it tougher for him now? Again, we are in the sort of patterns that Medvedev likes. But Sinner makes sure that this game will not last that much longer. He blasts the backhand down the line and then smashes the forehand down the line as well. Again, a great change of directions. It was something similar that won him the third point of this game. But really, the last forehand was just out of this world. 4-3, Sinner. Little issues here, potentially coming from the fact that this was finally the game when the first serve does not land more than half the time, but he managed to survive, so kudos to him for that. Will work, understand, not answering any emails in order to see a Medvedev masterclass. I don't know. I mean, so far, I don't know if we're gonna see a Medvedev masterclass. If it's a Sinner masterclass, will they understand? I think that they would, right? If Sinner wins this one, I think that's where you would probably say that they should understand it, because then it's something special, right? And then if Medvedev beats Sinner for the seventh time, serve return ratings. I mean, it's just based on first serve return points won, second serve return points won, breakpoint conversion, and the likes, right? Like it's just based on 3 or 4 stats. I think they are explained somewhere. I don't actually know if I can find it very quickly. Are they valid? I mean, they do give you some sort of an idea. I think in general, though. Oh yeah, they say it somewhere. I'm gonna tell you in a second. Serve leaders. Where is it said? Because I just clicked and oh yeah, here it is. The serve rating is average number of aces per match. Uh, uh, oh, sorry, it's 4 service metrics percentages. So this would be, I guess, first serve points won, second serve points won, first serve, I guess, first serve percentage and service games won. And then it also adds the average number of aces and subtracts the average number of double faults. A return rating is just adding winning percentage in the 4 return categories. So I guess that would be, what would it be? First serve return points won, second serve return points won, return games won, break points converted. And also under pressure, there's the third rating that the ATP gives you, which is just break points, tie breaks, deciding sets. I mean, they are decently valid, right? I think in general there are some problems with metrics like first serve points won, second serve points won, because a lot of the time, um, serve and return, even though they are the most important shots in the game, they are only 2 shots, right? Sometimes also sometimes how you play off the ground or like from advantages or disadvantages positions also impacts it. So, for example, I would never say that Nadal is a better returner than Djokovic, for example, and their return stats are similar because Nadal is better on the defense. Nadal is better at recovering points. So, but anyway, Sinner was fairly low up here with some pretty violent hitting, especially that inside in forehand here that Medvedev just had no chances of getting to. And I think he also wins this point. Yes, he finds this reactive backhand return, which just bounces at Medvedev's feet. Medvedev was trying to sort of run away from it. Medvedev was just trying to let it fall out, and it didn't. It actually landed in the court. But a good serve from Medvedev saves the first break point. Well, he actually had to hit a backhand plus one as well, but it was routine. But there's still one more breakpoint for Sinner coming. So that Medvedev masterclass that Keen was talking about, I don't know if it's happening. We'll see. Sinner is in the point at least. Now the pressure is on Medvedev to keep him on the semi back foot at least and not allow him an opportunity to pounce. I think he sort of has, but will Sinner take it? I think yes, he is. Oh, oh my goodness. Ah, Jannik Sinner. Yeah, definitely there was a bit of a lack of depth at some point from Medvedev in this rally. Sinner stepped it up, backhand cross court, great shot, and Medvedev barely got it. Sinner had an easy smash and misses it long. Aye. Yeah, if he loses this set, this is the shot that we will remember, right? I mean, routine, fairly routine, I guess. But he also could have let it bounce, right? He didn't have to take it off the air. So I think it's justified to say it was routine. And yeah, he just misses it long. And now it's Medvedev with the game point and an ace to get back to 4-all. Jannik Sinner, this was your moment. This was your moment. Forget. No, this was a choice, I don't have time. I mean, today I have to commentate on this. I also have to do the ATP weekly. So yeah, forget to shave. Maybe I will over the course of like the next 2 or 3 days. I don't know. Hello, Jake, as well. Has Medi hit a second serve? Well, yeah, you're right, John. Actually, because it was just a double fault, right? That he has missed so far. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So basically, he hasn't landed his second serve. That's pretty wild. I remember last year in Bratislava, I was watching Fucovic Hanfman, I think it was, definitely Fucovic, who landed all 23 first serves in the first set. And I was watching that with the late Jakub Bobro as well, the one of the contributors to this channel too. And I remember we were supposed to talk about, talk to Fucovic after the match, and basically we had to double check this, right? Because it just felt like an unreal stat. I mean, how can you land all first serves in a set? But yeah, that was actually true, and he also said that he knew that he landed all first serves in a set. Anyway, Sinner misses another smash to go love 15 down. The volleying game has been okay from Jannik here, but the smashing game so far, not so much. And again, like if he loses the set, especially if he loses the next two games, we're gonna mention that second breakpoint in the previous game as a turning point for sure. Medvedev will regret this one though, because he had the advantage. He managed to get Sinner, just stretching to the backhand corner, and eventually he tries to play this weird drop shot that is like nowhere near the line even. I guess it was a little hard to calibrate this because he was pushed out wide himself, but still, not a good shot at all. Anyway, 15 all. Two unforced errors from Medvedev may be true. I don't know. There was definitely a plus one. Well, this was the third, obviously, but maybe there was a plus one forehand that I remember him missing. Was there anything else? I mean, it's possible. Most of the time when the rally is neutral, he is staying in it and he is winning it. So it is possible. Yeah, letting it bounce. There is a school definitely of letting it bounce, and I understand why they want to take it off the air because that gives the opponent even less time to respond. Right? You're sort of afraid that they might do something if you let it bounce. But yeah, letting it bounce is definitely easier shot to pull off. It does take away some of your advantage, although I think in that particular moment probably he would have won the point anyway. Yeah, I think on this particular point, he, as Keen says, he probably would have landed it anyway. I don't think there would have been an issue with it. Anyway, 40-15 up, Sinner. Medvedev also does not get many chances to make unforced errors here because if you're watching like the rally that we've just seen, and this will all count as forced because he's just responding to the Sinner pace, and when he can't, it's not an unforced error. What's definitely quite hilarious is that he still hasn't landed the second serve, and that's only on one attempt. I wish I ever play a match where I have 90 something percent first serves in. uh Most of the time it's like 35-40, I would assume, although obviously no one ever really kept count of my first serve percentage, but I think most of the time it's like 35-40 really. Yeah, that's also a bit of a misleading stat a lot of the time, right? First serve percentage, because you can take a bit of them. You can, I don't know, play a kick on your first serve, and then obviously you're gonna land it a lot of the time. Slice also as well. But when someone is just playing flat first serves almost every time, like I am, for example, because I just don't have the technical ability to hit anything else, then definitely the percentages go down. The percentages do not seem to be going down for Sinner, though, as he lands another one, tries to serve and volley, but Medvedev does not make the return. It was pretty close, though, and the shot that Sinner would have to play was going to be tough. So let's see. 5-4. That's interesting. I just saw a tweet that someone hates jump backhands. Was there a jump backhand in this one? I'm not sure. Maybe it's in reference to another match. Five four. Still have not seen a second serve from Medvedev, right? But we'll see. What's more likely to happen next? A non-Medvedev Russian Grand Slam winner or a non-Sinner Italian Grand Slam winner? Huh. Interesting. Do they have any big talents in the juniors? Because I don't think Kachanov is winning a slam. I also think it would be quite a sort of stars are aligning moment for Mr. Rublev to win a slam. Berrettini's chance might be gone, but if he ever manages to sort of get his physical issues sorted out and Djokovic is out, then maybe Wimbledon can still be a shot for Berrettini. Who knows? I mean, Musetti, I don't know. Still would take some vital, huge improvement for him to be in slam winning contention, I would say. So yeah, I'm sort of maybe even thinking about junior players. I don't know. Yaroslav Demin, yeah, I don't know if he's a slam winning contender. Italians, do they have someone? I guess most Italians that we know are like 21, 22, 23, right? Carboni, oh, and this guy Pontioli. But yeah, there's no way of knowing basically if they will be winning slams. I don't know. It's a tough question for sure. I would say Rublev obviously has a better shot than Berrettini, right? That's how it would seem right now. But if we just think of perhaps a healthy Berrettini at Wimbledon, given the sort of lack of competition that we have on grass right now, maybe that's not actually the case. I mean, apparently we still have not seen a second serve from Medvedev, which is hilarious. I mean, at least a second serve that he would hit, because again he's making his first serve. 30-15. Maybe one could argue that if Medvedev wasn't hitting all of his first serves, Sinner would have a significant advantage by now. Who knows? Sinner definitely could have had a significant advantage had he landed that smash on the second breakpoint. That for sure. Yeah, John, I was also thinking about the 7-5 first set in Miami just a second ago. Because that was basically my thoughts that okay, so Medvedev probably wins this game, and then Miami was 7-5, 6-3, and sort of looked tight until it didn't. But Sinner is 2 points away from the set. One could also argue that he was at some point 1 point away from the set in this one, but yeah, that's obviously sort of virtually, not realistically. Here he is actually 100% 1 point away. But there was a second serve from Medvedev as well. So I think Medvedev missed this one. Yeah, not that much pressure, but he was actually stepping. Oh, actually, he didn't. No. Oh, sorry. For some reason, I thought he missed it, but turns out he didn't. Never mind then. 40-30. I think I have to rewatch that previous point. I did not fully grasp what happened there. There's a drop shot from Sinner, and it is good. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Oh my goodness, that's another big chance missed for Sinner. I mean, easily could have had it at deuce. The drop shot was great. Medvedev barely catches it. He plays it back, and he plays it back pretty powerful with a lot of power. However, like there's no chance for him to even get back into the court after this. The impact, there's no way he's gonna stop in place and manage to get back into the court. and Sinner misses this backhand of the slide by just a few centimeters. Yeah, there is one person in this match so far who has missed their opportunities significantly more than the other, and it is Jannik Sinner. No, actually, Medvedev. No, I thought so. So it was the other scoreboard that I saw that had a second serve for him. But according to the official sort of ATP stats, he still has not played more than 1 point on the second serve, and that 1 point was a double fault. So we still haven't seen a landed second serve from him, and that's after 27 points on serve. That's pretty ridiculous. I mean, who is that one arguing around? That's funny. Um, am I worried that X will go and tennis Twitter will be over? Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's part of my professional existence. I would say uh, it's been it's been very helpful for me in many ways, and it's just a good medium to connect to other tennis fans. So I would definitely be disappointed to see tennis Twitter go, and especially if it would go in this sort of a way, right, where one guy comes and basically destroys what was a very good platform, what was a platform that no one really had many issues with realistically. I mean, I know there were some discussions regarding um, hate speech, and also how much the actual organization can allow, like how much they should be, how much influence they should have over what is said there, and like censorship. But just from like the tennis perspective, there was literally zero issues on Twitter for me. um, if you were just using it as this sort of a platform where you only really chat about tennis, the censorship didn't really come into play. Anyway, 6-5, 51 minutes. That's pretty hilarious. But actually, did your father ask you about your birthday, like only the actual birthday, or was it also your birth year? Because maybe your father also doesn't know when you were born, just like we don't know here at Talking Tennis. That would be hilarious. And we still haven't received a like from Jake Silk, so we are waiting for it. Hopefully, when he finds out when John's birthday is, he is going to give us a like as well. Anyway, 6-5. Jannik Sinner. Let's see if we finally get a second save from Daniil Medvedev. Because that is definitely quite hilarious that he still hasn't had to play one. Oh, or at least missed the only one that he was trying to play. I want to see if there are some tweets about it, but I don't really. At least on my timeline, it's not appearing. And by the way, in Beijing, we've just finished the action with Rybakina beating Andreeva. We also have Shanghai, as I mentioned. Max Purcell is back into the second set against Su. Safiullin won the first set over Murray. Kovacevic still playing against Garin as well. So 3 more matches in Shanghai going on. Yeah, the smash that Sinner missed is showing up on my timeline, but not the not the serve stats, honestly. Is that another first serve in from Medvedev? I think so. Jesus Christ! I mean, this one was on the line. That's pretty ridiculous. that he's still hitting, serves like that and maintaining that insane percentage. But that one's out, isn't it? Yeah. I believe this one was final. Yes, that was the second serve that we saw from Medvedev on the 33rd point of the match on his serve. So it looks like we will be getting to a tiebreak very easily. Again, for the love, Medvedev is sort of allowed to drop this point without that much trouble. He didn't drop it actually, just like the previous ones in these positions where he missed a +1 forehand or something, but it was more so the quality of Sinner's return. But anyway, we are into the tiebreak, so it's not Miami. Well, I guess we already knew that after the 6-5 game. Yeah, let's see what we're gonna have here. Sinner is playing the sort of point that he doesn't want to against Medvedev right now on the first point, and this could be a mini break. However, nice angle on the forehand, and again, when Medvedev is stretched to his forehand corner, he sometimes struggles with this. I'm not really sure what he's trying to do with this shot, even, but we've had 3 errors like that already. I think he's just trying to play it back to down the middle, get it back to neutral, but definitely could do better here. Very similar shot that he has already missed a couple of times in this one. Speaking of double faults, we have one from Daniil Medvedev. Off to down. And this could be crucial, especially as he fails to make another first serve. So that's not what usually happened for him so far in this match. And now he could be in trouble if Sinner can win this one as well. They're trading forehands cross court. Sinner gets there with the backhand though, and approaches to the Medvedev, well, to the middle basically, and he does make it uncomfortable enough for Daniil to miss the pass. He just sort of had to play from his, um, yeah, he was in an uncomfortable spot there, playing from the body, and he misses that sharp angled cross court pass of the forehand. So 2 first serves in the tiebreak that Medvedev didn't land, and we are at 3-0 Sinner. Four zero Sinner. Tries to serve and volley out wide. The return does not go over the net. Wild. WTA in Shanghai this year. I mean, there was never a WTA in Shanghai, right? So I actually thought, Nurlan, that they were going to hold one because it seemed to me that if there's an event that lasts a week and a half and everyone is complaining that it's really slow, that it has to be a combined event. And actually it's not. Shanghai is a men's only event, which is interesting. and I didn't think that's how it was that this is how it was going to work, but actually that's how they did it. But there was never a WTA event in Shanghai, I think so. Um, well, at least not in recent years, not as a not as an event like the Shanghai Masters, right? From what I see, I think there was a WTA event in Shanghai in like 2003, but obviously that's not what I'm referring to. Yeah, 2000 to 2000 to 2003, but in the modern days of the 1000 events and etc. So since 2009. Anyway, 5-1, Medvedev wins a point, but it could be too late. It could be too little too late. It could be to no avail. Potentially, that's what we're going to see here. Yeah, we have arrived at an hour of this set, but it seems like it might be over pretty soon if Sinner can just hold his nerve now. Ooh, he doesn't even need to. What the hell was that? Um, Medvedev gets a +1 forehand from the middle of the court, and it's one of these where he just completely botches it up technically. Very awkward. Obviously, his technique is awkward in the first place, but this one was, I guess, just frustration and nerves as well playing into this one because yeah. Six-one Medvedev. Will he have the patience to keep working for it? What the hell was that? He did have the patience to keep working for it, and I mean, Sinner hit this net court that Medvedev barely managed to make, and then Medvedev hit the net court, and it landed like in the very very just behind the net on the line. uh, I don't even know what to think about this point. I mean, if this happened at like 6-5 in the tiebreak, this would have been a ridiculous highlight and, what a story as well. But it didn't. It actually happened at 6-1. So in the long run, it might end up being very irrelevant. But if it starts a comeback here from Medvedev, now Medvedev actually recovers with that cross court forehand response that he missed a few times in this match. He's still in the next rally, but this time the net court does not let him through. It bounces back on his side of the net. So 7-2 in the tiebreak, Sinner after 62 minutes. One thing that we sort of have to start talking about is that usually when the match is long, especially against a player like this, Medvedev, Zverev, I don't know, Alcaraz, whoever, Sinner might fall into some sort of physical trouble. We haven't seen it yet so far, but this week he was sick at the beginning. I don't know. Maybe this is a chance for Medvedev, to just extend it and hope to win that way. Was Medvedev much worse than Sinner in this set? Definitely not, right? But you kind of have to start wondering, like, what happens when Medvedev stops landing 95% of his first serves? And I guess we sort of saw it in the tiebreak as well. At first, Medvedev, we said that he had just two unforced errors. I mean, he ends the set with more than Sinner actually, which is a bit of a contrast for sure with how much more aggressive Sinner is in the rallies most of the time. Medvedev did get a lot of unreturned serves in this set, almost 30, well, over 33%, in fact, a lot more than Sinner. but that was basically the main thing going for him, right? Generally speaking, Sinner was the one who had more opportunities beforehand, before the tiebreak, and he did dominate the tiebreak. So looking good towards his maybe to the first win against Medvedev. We'll see.
Maybe I overestimated that head-to-head scoreline, and maybe I should have watched more Medvedev Sinner matches, because that didn't look like a set from where there was clearly an issue. I mean, actually, I also think maybe I underestimated Sinner's ability to do the out wide serve and volley. I mean, he did it with aplomb on most occasions, even if I think his net points won doesn't look that great. Maybe they occurred during rallies rather than serve volleys. But yeah. What about Medvedev? I mean, that first serve stat was kind of very intriguing, and I wonder if he knew about it, and perhaps when he started missing them, that put him off. But maybe I'm putting two and two together and making five.
Yeah, I mean, the serve and volleying, the main thing, I guess, is that he's not making it tough on the first volley for Sinner, like at all, right? Either he gets a put away, or I don't know, or the return is in the net.
He did do one good return in the whole set.
Two of them, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
but the two of them that like literally won the point. But it's not a big price to pay if, like Sinner, you've been, I don't know, at the net like what, 20 times maybe, and you get surprised twice. That's not a, well, obviously also he had a couple of mishaps, but that's still a very good success rate. I mean, on Flash Score at least it says 12 out of 17 at the net. Again, there's some controversy in terms of how do we count, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds more or less right. Obviously, he missed one put away volley. He missed a smash. There were two passes from Medvedev for sure, and probably like one more point that he lost at the net as well.
Keane is saying that he would pay big bucks to watch you and I play best of five.
Yeah, that would be good. We have no idea how well we play, so it would be.
Me neither. But I'm going to start to spread a rumor that Damien is a pusher. I think I'm going to start to see how.
No.
Yeah, of course you're going
Definitely
to
not.
deny that, Damien. I mean, no
No.
one's.
I actually play way too aggressively with my forehand. So
Okay. Yeah, that would be fun. I really would have loved to have even just had a hit with you and Mario back in January, but
yeah.
I think we had so little sleep that it just became, and there was
Yeah,
so
we
few.
had some plans to do it.
I
But,
know, I said it, and I
didn't
would
pan
have
out
loved to. I
eventually.
mean, we played ping pong,
We did.
yeah, it was just
In ping
got
pong, there's no contest, but in tennis, we just have no clue. I mean,
yeah, let's see.
so hard to sort of judge. Yeah,
We'll try and
gauge your level.
yeah, we'll try and get it someday. Any other thoughts on this? Is this now Sinners to lose? I mean, it was nip and tuck. I mean, we didn't have a break of serve. It felt like Sinner maybe had one or two more opportunities. I mean, obviously, he had love 40 on Daniil's serve at one point before Daniil goes and wins 5 or 6 points in a row.
1540, I think. But
Okay.
yeah, 1540 at 3-4, and that was one of
Yeah.
these points, with the missed smash. But yeah, he had a bit more opportunities, was definitely the better player all round, but it was not like he had 5 more opportunities. He had like 2 more opportunities or something like that. Obviously, one of them was a major one, because if you miss that smash, you're going to remember that until the end of the set. So it's good that he won it. However, yeah, I just sort of have to ask the question again. What happens if Medvedev stops landing all of these first serves, and is he gonna just be in more trouble there? I don't know.
Yesterday, somebody said in the live chat whether speculating that Sinner has a problem closing out matches, but I don't recall that being more of a problem for Jannik than anyone else.
Yeah, people always say that about everyone, basically. I think, and
Okay.
yeah,
I think everyone has
everyone has a problem. Yeah, like Andy Murray choked the match last week, right? And
Yeah.
he's one of the guys where you would say, okay, he's the one that always comes back. I guess Djokovic does not have an issue closing out matches, and that's like the only player that I know.
He's normally very far in front, though. I think
I guess.
when if you're up, if you're up 2-0, 5-4, I've seen him, like against Ben Shelton this year, it happens, but he still goes on and wins the match because the gap is significant. I always think it's easier to close out 2 sets and a double break up than it is if it's a fifth set, for example.
Yeah, but if it's a fifth set, he's also closing it out.
Yeah, but
Doesn't he have the best deciding set record ever? I
yeah,
think he
quite
eclipsed
possibly.
Nishikori.
Yeah,
I think maybe he's also right now. He might have the best tiebreaker stats as well, right?
wouldn't
So
surprise me. Yeah,
I think he eclipsed Federer at that. So yeah, I think he just does well in every single category basically.
yeah.
It's wild that he has only lost 3 matches from match point up ever. Yeah, he is currently ahead of Federer on the tiebreaker stats. Yes, indeed. And also, what was I talking about? Deciding sets, right? I think he should be ahead of Nishikori by now.
The Sinner
Uh,
smash, by the way, is going to become a meme because there's been 3, I think,
no,
now in
actually,
this.
Nishikori is a tiny, tiny bit ahead. And also, right now, McEnroe and Borg are a bit better. But I think it was the fifth set record that Djokovic and Nishikori might hold a lead at. Oh, no, actually, they are slightly lower down as well than Borg. Borg apparently was the master of fifth setters and deciding sets.
I just watched the Fire and Ice documentary regarding the McEnroe Borg rivalry, which of course centered, or a large part of it, obviously, was the Wimbledon final. That,
Yeah.
in a way, actually, I've marveled at Nadal's ability to recover, if you like, from the devastation of losing a 2-set advantage over a guy who'd won the previous 5 versions of, or 5 iterations of Wimbledon, or whatever the word is, and yet that Borg, he had about half a dozen championship points in the tiebreak. So and I think he goes love 30 down on his serve at the beginning of the 5th, and you're just thinking, how do you come back from this? And somehow he did, but that was the past. Let's get back to the present. Yes, Sinner, by the way, is missing smashes for fun today. Although I don't think he's having much fun when he's missing them. But there was one just now into the net that was just unbelievable.
I'll find another stream that is more in line with yours.
You can do, but I'm actually going. I've still got some I've got toast with goat's cheese, tomato, oregano, and olive oil. And you might go, "Oh, yeah, that's sort of very Mediterranean of you." It's just basically I'm trying to consume things that are on the verge of going bad in fridge, etc. So I even noticed the bread started to sort of get a little bit of mold on top, so I had to cut that off. And I'm thinking, so I'm just basically eating things that need to be eaten as soon as possible. But you can stick to having a stream.
No. Yeah, okay. I get that I'm gonna be eating ham all day because I have this pack of ham that I basically opened like 2 weeks ago, and I think it's fine visually, it's fine smell wise, it's fine taste wise, but I think it must be on the verge of going bad.
There's most of the time the best before dates are very conservative estimates. And we should also,
and especially the ones where they tell you like how long do you have after you open the package,
right?
These ones are very conservative for sure.
Yeah, so definitely the eyes and nose and other senses is a very significant thing, but there is a clock and it is ticking. So anyway, on that delicacy advice, I will just go backstage, but I may well rejoin at some point, maybe at the end of this set or even at some point before if I feel the urge.
Sure. I will be there. I'll be here. 1-1 all, by the way. Sinner, I think, even landed a smash in this game, so that was a bit of a change. Yeah, he did actually, and he let it bounce, and it wasn't the same shot though. It was off the baseline, so. Maybe I would want to play John on a slow surface because he is older. I don't know how much older, but maybe I would want to, beat him physically. I feel pretty strong physically, I guess. It could be a chance. But generally speaking, I definitely consider myself best on like low bouncing, slick, fast surfaces. Anyway, 15 all. in this third game of the second set. 73 minutes of action already, actually 74. It has just changed. Medvedev facing, I guess, quite a lot of pressure here in every single service game because of, the fact that he's down a set and basically one break could end the match. And with the way that Sinner is hitting his returns right now, it most certainly could. 15-30 down. Huge forehand return at the feet of Medvedev. There was no chance to react, really. A similar one earlier in the match, he let go and it landed in. This time he tried to pick it up with the half volley, but it wasn't really a close attempt at all. Some decent defense here from Sinner, but I think Medvedev should put away this volley. My stream lagged, but oh, Sinner wins this point. That's a big error from Medvedev. I actually have to rewind to see it, but that's a blunder and a half. That's absolutely awful. I mean, he had Sinner here, yeah, and he just put away the volley to basically the other corner of the court, to the corner where Sinner was. He just gave Sinner this point on handed it over to him on a silver platter. That's really awful. That's like comparable to what Sinner did with the missed smash. Really, it should have been 30-all, but it is 15-40, and time for Medvedev to be under a lot of pressure here. Plays this funny drop shot slice sort of thing, and he wins the point with it. I don't really know what the shot was supposed to be. It landed in the middle of the court. However, it still gave him some sort of positional advantage when Sinner tried to approach down the line, and Medvedev just made it a bit too hard for him on this stretched volley. This was the sort of, I guess, net opportunity that Sinner cannot really land. It was just too tough. Anyway, big serve from Medvedev to get back to deuce, but yeah, this was a moment that really could have ended the match, and Medvedev basically forced himself into that position with this with the way he couldn't put away the volley at 30-15. At the same time, there were a few good returns from Sinner as well in this game. But he's not out of the woods yet, 40-all, and a second serve. Well, what is different in this encounter compared to previous matches? Asks Matthew. Honestly, Sinner is definitely serving volleying a lot after his first serves out wide. He is using net play to his advantage. He's not going for the drop shots like in Miami. I think he only maybe played one so far. And other than that, I mean, honestly, not so much. When it's neutral in the rallies, it's still most of the time Medvedev winning it. That their previous matches, they weren't actually all that lopsided. Like in Miami, Sinner was a little tired, and he was definitely not as efficient at the net here as he is today. And this is also because of when he goes to the net, right? Because he's usually just trying to finish off the point at the net rather than actually win it with with very tough volley picked off his feet. This was now an example of a point where actually Sinner's volleying wasn't up to par. He approaches the net and then just gives it to Medvedev basically. But yeah, I don't think this is all that different compared to the match they played in Miami, other than the fact that Sinner just has more energy really and isn't trying to throw in the drop shot that he's definitely not comfortable with. He is returning well, although you couldn't really see it in the first set because Medvedev was landing 90% of his first serves. I know, a wild number, but yes. And yeah, John with the easy answer of Medi served well when it didn't matter and didn't serve well when it did, and it's actually true. Yeah, absolutely. The second set, the first set tiebreak was the worst sequence of points that Medvedev played in the entire match. so far, and that's kind of it. But yeah, I don't think it's really that different compared to Miami. To Rotterdam, I mean, in Rotterdam, Sinner won the first set, right? And then also didn't have it physically in him in sets 2 and 3. So also, I mean, compared to Miami, not to today, because so far we haven't seen any signs of Sinner's physicality dipping or something like that. Definitely have not seen it yet. Yeah, and speaking of another matches, Purcell won that second set. Safiullin is dominating Murray 6-3 4-1, and Kovacevic has just saved the match point against Garin, and it's 6-all in the second set tiebreak. Kovacevic could be in for like a really wild match again, which is huge because in the qualifying he saved 3 match points against Alexei Zakharov. That, by the way, would have been an awful loss. Then he had a tough match against Li Tu as well, where he wasted 3 match points in the second set and then eventually won it after saving some key break points in the third. So he's basically struggling in every match, match point saving, match point wasting, and yet he's still alive. And if he wins the next point, he will be tied with Christian Garin after saving 2 match points again. That's of course Shanghai. Beijing, as I said, the action there is done for the day. This is the last, well, other than this match, of course. This is the last match. But yeah, we go back to Sinner Medvedev at 1-2. Oh, and that's actually some really good touch from Sinner on this serve and volley. Wasn't that easy of a shot, I guess. I mean, basically anywhere he played it on the court, it would have been fine. But that's a good volley. There's the right sort of crisscross movement to towards the net, and also just nice touch on the forehand volley. Good. The way he moved away with the body as well. That's surprisingly excellent. And I guess unsurprisingly excellent is the Sinner baseline hitting in the next point, which he eventually wins with this very deep backhand down the line. Medvedev probably wasn't really sure if he was going to make it, but eventually it landed in, and Medvedev doesn't get his next shot over the net. Probably something that we can say is that this match is a little more important for Sinner than it is for Medvedev, right? Daniil, if he loses it, this is really nothing. I mean, nothing. Obviously, not nothing. You always want to win the title. You always want to beat your opponents. You also are 6-0 against this opponent. But I think Medvedev definitely realizes that he's not going to beat Sinner 20 times in a row or something. But for Sinner, this could be like really another step forward in his career if he can beat Medvedev here, given the fact that it's probably, well, along with Djokovic, his toughest rival yet. Beating Djokovic would be the other moment that he really wants to have, I think. Has he beaten Nadal? I don't think so, but like with Nadal basically out of the picture, right? Um, I also don't think it matters all that much for him. But yeah, beating Medvedev, beating Djokovic, I think these are the challenges that would mean a lot for Sinner at the moment. Obviously, also winning a slam and maybe doing well at the ATP finals, but that's that's not going to happen for another 2 months, I guess. Well, 2 months now, a month and something, right? Anyway, we're back to 2-0. Okay. Medvedev won the first point, but now they're trading backhand. Sinner goes down the line. Ooh, that's a great counter from Medvedev. Maybe just like the second time in the match that we've seen him pull off a forehand down the line like this. There was also that forehand return, but off the baseline, I would say, in sort of in rhythm with the rally. And yeah, Sinner even claps him. Um, in appreciation, he claps his racket. It was an awesome shot indeed. For love. So looks like another quick Medvedev service game. I actually want to see how well he's landing his first serve again in this set, right? Because in the opener before the tiebreaker, he was at 96, 95, something like that, which should not be too repeatable, but maybe he's doing it again. I don't know. He does go 3-2 up. Yeah, this one actually he's on a much more normal 50%, but still winning, even though there were these breakpoints naturally in the third game, so there were issues. Senior final record 8-3 Medi 2014. Senior has 8 ATP titles, really. I didn't realize. Um, I guess lots of that have come. Hmm. Wow. Next gen finals, yes, Sofia, Antwerp. Yeah, 4 titles in 2021. That's pretty wild. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. You may even want to count next gen finals, I guess, if you want to at least. John Silk equals to Camila Giorgi. Okay, interesting. When Samsonova defeated Kostyuk, was there a handshake? And if not, did the Chinese audience do a massive boo? I didn't see that, so I don't know. But I would assume that there was no handshake. Kostyuk playing Samsonova. I do doubt it. Okay, so we're back. 24 minutes in the third set, 5 games. Jannik Sinner about to serve 2-3 down. Ugh, ugh, ugh. I mean, he made the shot, but just the way that Jannik Sinner was approaching that volley, it did make me very uncomfortable. However, yeah, it's he gets there, he gets the point. I don't think this was really the most convenient way to hit this volley, but it's fine. He won the point after another serve volley attempt. But I guess again we sort of see that the way Sinner is able to escape with it today, the way Sinner is able to escape with these maybe often uncomfortable volleys today, is that he is just not made to work all that hard on the first volley. The quality of the returns from Medvedev most of the time isn't that good, and probably we also have to praise the spot serving from Sinner. And speaking of that, I mean, I just saw a fantastic serve from him. Didn't even have to go to the net this time because it was just too good for Medvedev to return it. So now it's time for Daniil Medvedev to serve at 3-all. There was some interaction that he had with the ball girl, but I'm not sure what it was about. Okay, 15-all. Sinner is in this rally as well, but this is the sort of point that Medvedev should be winning. There's a drop shot from him. It's not good enough though, but he manages to run away with it anyway. He just barely gets his racket on this forehand and puts it back over the net. Sinner cannot get to it in time. So again, he sort of escapes with a drop shot that's not good enough. Sorry, I'm just explaining a friend of mine what's performance bias. What are performance bias? Because he apparently read something on the Rybakina post where she was angry at the WTA, right, for giving I think it was Garcia who got her performance buy in Tokyo. And basically he thought that it was about Beijing, and like I had to tell him that everyone played the first round in Beijing, so it's about Tokyo. Ooh, some good talk on the chat. Interesting. Ooh, I missed a lot in the chat. Okay. Yeah, Djokovic has a ridiculous Beijing indeed record. How unique that is, I think it's very rare to have played an event 5 or 6 times and have a 100% record. I honestly cannot really come up with another example. There was this one big part when there was this big storyline at some point where Djokovic was on a crazy win streak in China, like 30, 40 matches, and then he lost to Federer in Shanghai 2014, right? 6-4, 6-4. But Beijing courts probably were better for Nola. But yeah, some of these editions, I mean, he dominated so much as well. In the 6 editions of Beijing that Djokovic won, he lost to Verdasco, he lost to Berrer, Michael Berrer, by the way, the guy who once beat Rafa as well in Doha, I think 2015. Michael Berrer, I guess he was German. Fernando Verdasco also. Yeah, so just 3 sets lost in 6 Beijing editions. That's ridiculous. He beat Nadal as well, so it's not like Berdic, Murray, Ferrer. So it's not like the competition was poor. And he beat Zhejiang, for example, as well. So the competition was definitely not poor. Anything else here? I like a quick surface, especially to encourage serve and volley. Yeah, I think the tennis that we're gonna see in Shanghai is probably gonna be really nice if your preferences are like similar to mine. Shanghai definitely made for some good tennis. And tennis has sped up a little bit, in recent years, especially the slams, the Australian Open, the US Open, the ATP finals as well, which John just mentioned that Turin is like lightning fast. I think we've actually seen a counter trend to the slowing down and the surface homogenization, which is yeah, making the surfaces a little bit faster. And maybe it's going to be needed in the future with how tough the tennis tour is also on the body. Um, why not have 2 or 3 events with ridiculously fast indoor carpet? I mean, indoor carpet was not pulled off the tour because of the speed of the courts. It was pulled off the tour because of the injury prone nature of the surface. I personally cannot speak for it because I've never played on it. I'm assuming John might have because it's super popular in Germany. I think most indoor courts are carpet. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that the indoor carpet was pulled off because of that. But yeah, I think if it's just like 1 week a year, it's fine, right? Just like it is on the Challenger Tour now with Ismaning, where everyone at the end of the event is like already, oh god, I want to see just normal rallies. I don't want to watch Ismaning anymore. But it's just 1 week a year, so it's nice variety, and everyone actually wants it to stay on the tour, I guess. Yeah, there is evidence that suggests otherwise. I also don't know why exactly it's all that. I mean, clay is definitely the least injury prone surface, right? At least in terms of like knees and yeah, especially knees, I guess. Because if you're having back issues, then probably clay is not going to be good for you with the contact point being so much higher. But especially knees, joints, I mean, clay definitely is the best surface for them. Anyway, Sinner was 40-15, wasted a point a little bit, but maybe it's not gonna matter as he still has one more chance to close out this game. After the second serve, he is kind of limited in terms of what he can really do in these rallies. But the backhand crosscourt again working pretty well. I like how he's accelerating there. I think on a number of occasions this has given him the advantage in many of these points in this match. But anyway, Medvedev eventually makes an unforced error to get him back to 4-all. But yeah, the backhand crosscourt from Sinner has been pretty excellent. And also, it could have won in the first set when he missed that smash, right? Because that was a huge backhand cross that managed to give him that sort of a chance. And yeah. Anyway, for all, 97 minutes, still haven't seen a break. Some players have been complaining about the speed of the court in Beijing as well, saying that it's super slow. I think it was Pegula today that raised these questions, but honestly, I don't think it's that slow. We're just watching Sinner and Medvedev play basically a night session almost, right? I mean, what sort of local time is it right now in Beijing? Is it 9 past 30? I think it's something like that, right? I have to I have to check that, but it's 6 or 7 hours, I think, from where I am. Yeah, 9 past 30 is exactly right. So we are seeing them playing the evening session, and it's not like the court is slow. I don't think so. Uh, would this be Sinner's breakthrough if he wins? In a way, I think, because the big title in Toronto was huge, right? But I think the next things for him to do is, yeah, sort of beat Medvedev, beat Djokovic, win a slam, literally. I don't know, maybe get to word number 3 or something, because he's actually guaranteed to get to word number 4. But word number 3 right now would be huge because you've got Djokovic, Alcaraz, and Medvedev with a big lead, right? So yeah, I think it's like one of the next 5 things that Sinner wants to achieve. Beat Medvedev, which might sound a little weird, but if you've lost to a guy 6 times and also twice this year in finals, I think it's clear that Especially when people think of you as like someone who might never beat Medvedev, right? Who has a big matchup issue with him. And I think in this match, Sinner is showing that he doesn't really. That in the future, he can think of himself as having a good chance against Medvedev in their matches. And right now, he wins this point with a phenomenal defensive pickup to go 15-30. Yeah, I get what you mean, Keen. I think people still practice on it in some European countries when you have a lot of carpet courts, especially Germany, of course. Um, yeah, perhaps only Germany, really. It's really the kingdom of carpet. There used to be a Taipei challenger in carpet too, but I'm assuming that maybe they're not playing there that much. Roberto, it's not best of 5 sets. If you're asking about this match, Sinner Medvedev, it's just best of 3. Yeah, it makes sense that Germany's grass court prowess would be due to playing carpet. Yeah. Um, Personally, I remember that like I was starting out to play. Obviously, it's amateur awful level, but still, I remember I was starting out to play on artificial grass and switching to like a faster indoor hard court. It was no difference basically. Obviously, there was a difference, but still, I mean, it was super natural for me to play on a faster indoor hard court. I think there is a correlation for sure with the especially with 80s 90s Wimbledon and the height of the bounce and the speed to carpet courts. Right now, maybe not so much, but right now no one really trains on hard courts. Sinner's weakness: don't tell drop shot his touch. Yeah, lack of variety. The fact that the repertoire is a little one dimensional. But otherwise, the serve maybe sometimes. But he's a fantastic mover. He is obviously one of the best sort of power hitters, baseline timers as well in the game. So clean ball strikers as well. So I think it's really just the fact that he is a little one dimensional. Little. I mean, he's like, someone once said, I don't even know whom, that he's like the better Rublev, and it sort of makes sense. Rublev 2.0. And I do feel like we kind of know already what he's going to play like in a couple of years. I think with Alcaraz maybe we might see some changes. Rune definitely still quite unclear even what sort of a play style we're going to see from him, but I think with Sinner his game is very close to being a finished product, which is good and not good in a way, right? Because for one thing he is like not raw at all really, other than drop shots, net play, and etc. But yeah, you can very easily see like what sort of tennis he wants to play and what sort of tennis he will be playing over the years. And there's just some polishing up to do, right? And at the same time, we kind of have to question whether he's going to be able to develop a lot from here, because he's so close to being a finished product. But that kind of remains to be seen. Anyway, definitely the three main prospects of this generation, it's clear who they are, and Sinner is definitely among that group. Whether he's second or third, that's kind of preference choice. I think that's very subjective. Hits another good smash of the baseline, so he has been handling the baseline smash as well, but not the ones that he actually had to play at the net. Well, the baseline is maybe a stretch, but like he was, 3-4. Maybe he was like between the baseline and the service box. So still, I would classify it as a baseline smash, I guess. He was even laughing a little bit, so maybe that was what he was laughing about. That the easiest smash that he had in the match he missed, and yet he lands this. Yeah, power generators. Yeah, when he emerged on the tour in 2019, right? Sinner, I mean, um, that was basically what I think everyone was drawn to. The fact that he was able to accelerate out of nowhere while having such sort of lanky physical build, right? I'm pretty sure there's a tweet from me somewhere like back in the day where I probably said that I don't know how he gets that with this sort of physicality. Um, so Nurlan, I just had a tomato. What? One tomato. I was wondering how many. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, you're right that I cannot answer that question. I don't know if Nurlan can, but we'll see. I mean, are you thinking that because of some chemical thing in a tomato, or is it just because of water? Because you can just you can kill yourself with water, right? If you just drink too much. Has Roland Garros changed much since the 90s? I cannot really answer that, to be honest with you. I have no clue. There was definitely some, like the October edition, right? It had very different conditions. But in general, my guess would be not really. Night sessions right now, they're obviously different, but generally, my feeling would be that it probably has not changed all that much. But it could be the balls that also change the conditions. So, but yeah, definitely the October 2021 was very 2020, not 2000. Yeah, I said 2021, not 2021, but 2020 edition. Pretty funny. Anyway, 5-all. I think that's a double fault from Medvedev. So 15-all. Lots of pressure now on Daniil again because one lost game here and Sinner is serving for the match. But again, if he holds, then Sinner will have some pressure on him at 5-6. And this error does mean that Medvedev might be in some trouble here. The performance by argument that I mentioned is still going. Yeah, it's definitely one of the hardest things for a casual to understand, and that friend of mine is definitely a more casual tennis fan. 30-all. Ooh, yeah, Sinner had a real chance for a breakpoint here, but eventually it's Medvedev who wins this point. Sinner netting forehand on the slide. So 40-30 Medvedev, 1 point away from securing the tiebreak in this set. And great backhand +1 down the line from Daniil Medvedev. So 6-5 up the Russian is, and it's Sinner who's going to have to serve to stay in the set. In the first set, it was obviously different with Medvedev serving second, and then he was in that sort of a spot. Medvedev not really laid a glove on Sinner's serve today. No, there was this one breakpoint, right? 5-2-all maybe in the opening set. Is that right? I think it is right. And that was the one where Sinner got slightly lucky because he had an easy +1 forehand, and then he played it straight at Medvedev. Medvedev slices it down the line, and then it just narrowly misses. But yeah, I mean, Sinner still serving at 70%, winning 80% of his first serve points. Definitely has been some good spot serving, and also, yeah, Medvedev not doing much damage on return at all. Yeah, nice attempt. I'm gonna say Nurlan. That's true. This was a good idea. Thoughts on Shanghai starting up while Beijing has yet to finish. It does make it a bit tricky for the finalists in Beijing. Sinner, Medvedev. I was also wondering about this. Like, what if someone went very deep in Beijing and they couldn't play? Well, because we're talking about Sinner and Medvedev, right? We're talking about guys who will have buys, so they start their Shanghai round ones on Friday or Saturday. But there could be a real problem here if someone in Beijing who is not seeded in Shanghai went very deep. So let's see who is not seeded. Humbert is seeded, I think, from the quarterfinalists. So let's say, well, Nishioka is seeded as well, Musetti is, Echeverry is as well. So I guess it wasn't really close to that sort of situation. But let's say Arnaldi, converts his 3 match points against Jari, right? Then Arnaldi beats Zverev. Then Arnaldi beats Medvedev, and he plays the final here against Sinner. It's an all-Italian final. Mario is extremely happy and dances on the streets of, I want to say Rome, but no, he's not from Rome. He's from like south of Italy, whichever city he's from. And if that happens, and then Arnaldi has to play either on, well, Arnaldi actually would have to play tomorrow, right? On Thursday in Shanghai. So that's a huge scheduling conflict already. And there could be an even worse situation when the player actually has to, and theoretically has to play on Wednesday in the final in Beijing and the first round in Shanghai. I don't think they would do it. However, it would be unfair to the opponent of said player to allow him to play on Thursday, because one of them then will have less time to prepare for the second round. I don't really know what they would have done with this. I don't know if they had an option in mind, and that's like the only scheduling conflict that I think could happen here. With Sinner or Medvedev, it's easier because they are both seeded, right? They are actually, I think, in the same quarter in Shanghai, which is really interesting. So after Shanghai, we might have a 0-8 record, a 1-7 record, or 2-6 record in this rivalry, because it's actually possible. I think, given what sort of draws they have, I think it's actually very, very possible that these guys could play each other in the quarterfinals. I will maybe. Sinner tries to drop shot, and it was a very tough shot from Medvedev to try to play that sort of a shot off, because it was deep, it was low, and basically the attempt does not even go over the net. Bailing out of this rally at this spot was not a good idea. Yeah, Medvedev plays Garin, who beat Kovacevic, by the way, in that second set tiebreak. Then Korda, Ryunkete, and that fourth round section for Medvedev is super easy. Like Serundolo, McDonald's, Fucovic, or Aliasim. It's not super easy. Obviously, these are dangerous players, but like compared to what the rest of the draw looks like. And Sinner also has a brilliant draw, basically until the fourth round, where he would have to play probably Shelton, Zverev, Safiullin, someone like that. Second round, he plays Giron, then Sweeney or Baez. So basically, on Friday, they're already going to have to play. It's not ideal, but it is okay, I think. Sinner wins the 15-all point with a serving volley. A decent put away this time. Got it with better timing, so he didn't really have to play it from below the net. And yeah, by the way, when it comes to Shanghai, which I mentioned a few times, Max Purcell and Yu Su is the only match still going. Safiullin did crush Andy Murray, and Purcell Su, actually, it's Su 2 points away from winning the match, which I think would also make. There was whoever plays Su, Musetti, yeah, that's probably a pretty easy draw, I guess, if you want to look at it like that. Anyhow, 40-15, Sinner with 2 points to try to take this match to a tiebreak. He did dominate the first set tiebreak, I think, which was, both ways. It was both Medvedev playing some of the worst points that he had in the entire match, and also Sinner stepping up. He did generally step up for this match for sure. And yeah, there's a beautiful +1 inside out forehand. So we are going to see another tiebreak. It's the second set tiebreak between Sinner and Medvedev after 114 minutes. Today, by the way, it really is deepest, darkest Poland, as John usually says. It's raining outside. It's much colder than usual. I still have my window open, but I am like on the verge of closing it. We shall see if that's a decision that I will undertake in the third set. Anyway, if there is a third set. Looking at the first point, maybe there won't be, because Sinner is controlling it with the forehand. He slams one, goes to the net. Oh my goodness! No, I mean, some of these volleys from Sinner are really making me uncomfortable, and like, you know, my stomach is hurts. Anyway, because of how poor the volley was from Sinner, Medvedev eventually gets back into the point. However, Sinner finishes it off with a nice drop shot. I mean, it was okay when it comes to the touch. It was also fantastic in terms of the the momentum of the rally. There was no attempt from Medvedev to catch it, and there was no chance that he would ever make it to it. So beautiful stuff. But yeah, the volley. I mean, this point should have been over like 10 shots earlier. But still. And this is sort of what I said about the Alcaraz semi, and also about how Sinner's volleying has been adequate in both matches. It's that, you know, he is most of the time going to the net in a good moment where like it doesn't matter if the volley is super clean technically. And in this particular occasion, it kind of did, and you know, he did go to the net in order to bail himself out of the rally. It wasn't like the best approach that he's ever hit, definitely not. And there's a backhand error from Medvedev, I guess a neutral rally shot to go 0-2 down. So not a good start for Daniil. Most in the first tiebreak, he was 5-love down. He will be hoping to avoid such scoreline, such situation here, but we'll see if he is successful at that. Well, Sinner is definitely successful at this one. Once again, serve and volley out wide. Medvedev tries to find the down the line corridor, but there's not a lot of space there. And we talked about it, I think, a few times on the channel, that sometimes he can surprise you with this sort of a return, but it's definitely low percentage. It's definitely not going to work out every time. Ooh. Now he gets Sinner on the move, and there was a moment when I thought that maybe this net court was going to help the Italian, but eventually it doesn't, and 3-1 up Sinner, but still he has a mini break, and Medvedev has to win one more point on serve to even get it back to 2-3. Would 4-1 2 serves for Sinner end the match? It kind of feels like it. But maybe there are more twists. Maybe there's more mental nerves coming. We'll see. Second serve from Medvedev, though, will be interesting to see what sort of approach Sinner takes here. He goes for the return naturally. I thought that's what he will do, and that's what he does. But Medvedev is back in the point. He is on the defense, though. Sinner crashing his forehand, but eventually this inside out is going to be wide. This was a good example of Medvedev just shrinking the court, and even though Sinner was always on the front foot, he was always the one dictating in this rally, it still was not enough. Had to eventually go for it a little too much. Takuzva, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it in the chat, says that Medvedev is too old to win this match. That's interesting as well. Medvedev is how old? Like 27? Yeah. I think age probably is not that much of a factor yet in this one. Let's return to that in 5-6 years, maybe. Ooh, that's a very narrow backhand cross-court miss from Medvedev. This is the sort of error that he really didn't want to make in this one. Just a neutral ball that Sinner was not even, that much in control of. And yet he just narrowly misses it. We see it on the close call. So 4-2 Sinner. One more serve and 5-2 to the good. That would be a huge lead for the Italian. He serves and volleys again, and Medvedev's return is not going to land in. So again, we are sort of talking about probably the spot serving of Sinner here. The fact that he was able to land it in the very corner of the service box, the fact that he does not even have to play the volley, if he serves like that. Oh, and that's the point where Sinner wins the match. This is the moment when it's over. This is basically when it's done. Medvedev goes to the net. He plays a pretty nice backhand volley off his of his stomach basically, and Sinner tracks it down. Sinner plays a great forehand cross court pass. And it's 4 championship points, and it's over. Yes, it is. Forehand return from Sinner. Really good, really good. Cross court, very deep. Medvedev just barely touches with his racket. So 7-2 in another tiebreak. I think it was both tiebreaks 7-2, right? Am I right? I think I am. So we are done. And that's a really good win for Sinner, obviously, to beat an opponent he was 0-6 down against. As I said, I mean, it could be a bit weird that beating Medvedev is like such a big milestone, because why would beating one opponent who's like not Alcaraz, not Djokovic, not Nadal, not Federer be a big milestone? But it actually is, I think, especially having lost 2 finals to him already in 2023. I think that must have been one of the main things that he wanted to achieve next.
That was a good forehand passing shot though from Sinner. I know you were like, you think the volley from Medvedev wasn't good enough, but it did bounce low. It was coming at Medi.
I actually never said that.
Okay.
I think it was okay. I think the volley was okay. Like it was just okay. It wasn't amazing, but
it was a tricky volley as well, I think.
Yeah, it was just okay. Yeah, it wasn't anything special, but certainly I was more amazed with Sinner and sort of the way that it felt like he won the match on this very point, right?
Yep. I also in the match point as well, an excellent return off what I believe was a second serve from Medvedev. And therein he's won 3 tiebreaks in a row against Carlos. He's probably could well have won more than that, but I'm just thinking the last 24 hours he's won 3 massive tiebreaks. It was I think it was 7-4 yesterday, I would suggest, against Carlos in the tiebreak. And then, as you said today, I think both were 7-2. I would also, I mean, it kind of, it's a bit obvious that if you serve well and you return well, given that they are the 2 most important shots in tennis, you're probably going to win almost, or certainly most of your tennis matches, even against top opponents like Medvedev and Carlos. But yeah, I think the serve is something that I want to praise in these 2 matches alone. In that, I think that a lot of people have gone for Sinner before on his serve, and yet I think it's getting better. And I think it put Medvedev in positions today that it didn't put him in previously in this matchup. And now I think you're right. I think they may well be playing each other quite frequently. There's probably a 50-50 chance they'll be playing each other in Turin as well. So
yeah.
I have no idea if they are clashing in Basel or Vienna. I know last year Medvedev played Vienna, so I would imagine he'll play there again.
I think someone changed from someone surprising changed from Basel to Vienna, but who was that? I can't remember right now, but yeah. Anyway, it's not. It definitely wasn't Medvedev, but Sinner is also playing Vienna.
Is he? Yeah. Well, I was just starting to wonder with Sinner because obviously there's some sort of Austrian Tyrol kind of roots in his background. So maybe.
I think I was thinking of Hurkacz, who switched to Basel, but I think that that's actually a good choice. I actually wanted to see him there for a while.
Organizers of Basel and Vienna, I know you're tuning in. Please don't put your finals on at the same time. It, it's not very difficult to avoid. It's a Sunday afternoon. You've got two best of threes. It's very easy to put one at 2 or one at 5, I think, or one at
Yeah.
130.
At the same time, this is all sort of relating to sponsors a lot of the time as well, right? Because you need to have the guy who sponsors the event there. You need to have like the president of the city or something, right?
Yeah.
So
But we're not
um,
talking. We're not changing it from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We're not.
I know, I know, I know.
And
But
listen, the
it's not as
mayor.
easy as people think sometimes,
I
is
know,
basically
Damien,
what I'm
but
trying
trust
to
me,
say.
the mayor of Basel. What's he up to? What's he doing on a daily basis? Not a lot, I don't think. And I don't think he wants to be there. You can dictate to the mayor of Basel more than the mayor of Basel dictates to. I know what you mean with sponsors and stuff, but even if it's just 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, okay, one might go 3. You might miss the first set of one, but just stagger them. I'm sure that's possible. Listen, I don't want to go too much into this match or drag us on because I'm playing tennis in an hour, trying to up my game for a potential match with Damien in 2024. But also, of course, I don't want to go into too much because ATP Weekly can certainly do a lot of that as well at 8 o'clock. But maybe these two were just much more evenly matched than we realized.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it did look like this today. Rotterdam, I think it was a match that Medvedev won basically only on his physicality. And then Miami, that was also a factor. So yeah, I mean, today, honestly, Sinner was the better player throughout, maybe you could say. Like when Daniil stopped landing 90% plus first serves, right? That's
Yep.
when Sinner really started to emerge as the better player. So he missed some very important opportunities for sure, and could have won the match maybe slightly more cleanly. But still, even though it's two tiebreaks, I think it's pretty clear that there was one player who was better today, and I was getting Sinner. And as Matthew says, beating Carlos back to back, Carlos and Medi back to back. Yeah, it's a shame that Djokovic is not around in these events, right?
I think
Sinner will
Sinner.
have to catch him in Paris or at the ATP
Yeah,
finals,
I think
but.
Sinner has a chance against him on a hard court more than the other two surfaces. Personally,
Indoor
I don't know.
and a slow indoor hard court has always been like regarded as a great chance for Sinner. So
Okay.
Paris maybe.
Yeah, is Paris sort of slow? Is it?
Yeah, super slow.
Okay. I mean, I know it's indoors, but
Yeah.
by the way, it's the third title of the year for Jannik. I tweeted yesterday that it's been a really good year for him, and I contrast it with someone like Taylor Fritz of a similar generation who I think
Yeah.
has not performed as well this year, and I don't think it's difficult to make that argument regarding Taylor just in terms of his stats and his results, and then looking at Jannik in terms of he's world number 4 right now. I don't think he's ever been that high in the rankings. Am I right with that?
Yep, this is going to be his first appearance at world number 4 in the ATP rankings. It actually was going to happen regardless of today's match as well.
He's got a
But yeah.
He's in a very healthy position for the race to Turin. I think he's probably very close to sealing that. At least I'm just looking at.
Yeah,
He's
he
very.
is actually 30 points away at the
Is that
present.
all? Wow. Okay, so he's
Yeah, but
basically in Turin.
obviously he is in Turin, yeah.
Yeah.
Because this qualification cutoff is only gonna drop from here. It's not gonna go up. It's not gonna
Right.
stay at the same level. It's only gonna drop. So he is basically very likely to be there after Shanghai. If he wins one match in Shanghai, I think he's playing Marcos Giron, maybe if I remember correctly. He is going to qualify, and yeah, obviously he's gonna be there. And again, like top 4 is a big achievement. I think he's clearly much better right now than players like Rublev, Tsitsipas, Zverev, Rune, right? He is clearly the 4th best player in the world this year.
Mm-hmm.
Top 3 is significantly ahead, even with this win over Medvedev, even with this win over Alcaraz. But he is the 4th best, like also by a country mile.
Yep, agreed. And this year his results, he's got a nice little 250, 500 and 1000. on his CV for this year. He's broken a barrier as well with the 1,000. He's also broken a barrier in terms of getting to a Grand Slam semi-final. He hadn't been beyond a quarters before. I do think the draw was pretty kind to him at Wimbledon, but yeah, I think it's been a great year. Whatever happens from here on in, and who knows, it may even have an even bigger crescendo, perhaps on home turf. But I think there's at least 3 people that will have a big say in that. Has John mentioned Man United since being on this stream? No, Matthew. I wonder why I have neglected to mention that. I did a very quick stream last night because I felt as though I had quite a bit to say on Carlos and Sinner's match yesterday, and so I decided to do that. But I also thought it's good because I'll be disciplined because I knew that I had a 9 p.m. cutoff because I wanted to watch Man United against Galatasaray.
I'm checking the score of that now.
Oh, okay, you didn't know. Yeah.
No, I didn't. No.
There's like Damien and Mario, like Sinner's head-to-head though with Medvedev. The result, it doesn't really tell much of the story. There's a huge story there, but we don't have time.
But I see he missed the penalty as well. Icardi,
yeah,
right?
he did,
So
but there was
could
a
have
red
been
card,
worse.
and it was a red
And you
card.
also, I'm sorry to sort of do that, but you also lost the first fixture, right?
Yeah, against Bayern, 4-3, yeah. We're scoring goals, but we're leaking them too. Anyway, like an Old Trafford roof, we are leaking quite badly at the back. But just one more. Let's have one more comment on today. Sinner now, of course, 6-1. You and Mario, I'm sure, will have lots to say about this match and Beijing and Shanghai as well at 8 p.m. Central European time, 7 p.m. British Summer Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time this evening. So make sure you tune in for that. But yeah, just give me one more thought. What about Medvedev right now? That's back-to-back, significant finals, obviously one more than the other. And now even players like Sinner are doing this tactic, if you like, and exposing him.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of the time we said that not everyone can pull it off against him, but if Sinner can pull it off, I mean, he's not the biggest server in the world. I do think he was spot serving excellently today.
Agreed.
But still, he's not the biggest server in the world. He was definitely very awkward at the net on many occasions. So if Sinner can pull this off, go to the net like 30-ish times against Medvedev. Let me quickly check at least whatever Flash Score has to say about it. 33 times, win 70% of the points there. And by the way, this might not seem like much because 70% of points, but actually 70% tactics in tennis are ridiculous because even like the big 3 or something, they win 56-55% of the points carried wise. So if something works 70% of the time, keep doing that. And I don't know what his exact rate on the serve and volley was, but probably better than that. Probably better than 23 out of 23, right? Like probably better than 70%. I mean, probably it was going to be up by I don't know to like 80. So yeah, if someone like Sinner can do it, it really kind of makes you question. Maybe everyone should, and let's see how Medvedev actually can adapt to it, because so far he hasn't. And yeah, I do think it needed a great serving level from Sinner today, probably much better than yesterday. However, it puts some questions in your mind because lot of the time we just said that not everyone can do it because Medvedev is going to make you is going to hit that powerful return. He has so much time to make the long swing, and then you have a tough first volley on your hand. Today, the first volleys that Sinner got were not tough at all. I can remember maybe like 2 or 3 points that he lost after the serve and volleying, and where he actually struggled with the return. But there was also one else done where he just misses the put away like that. I'm not giving credit to Medvedev for. So it does put a lot of questions in your mind regarding how many and who can actually pull it off against Medvedev, and probably a lot more than we thought.
Indeed. And you and Mario can talk until the cows come home about that later on this evening, as we say in English. I'm sure there may be something similar in Polish, although it might not involve cows. It just means talking a lot, basically.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
But you knew the expression in English? Did you know that one? Talk till the cows come home?
Yeah, I've heard it. I wouldn't really use it, I don't think, but I've heard it.
Yeah. Anyway, there we go. That is for later on. You two guys can talk about Beijing from a broader perspective as well as Shanghai. I didn't realize that Murray had lost as well today already to Safiullin, and it was quite comfortable. I think you were suggesting in the stream. So maybe you can touch on that and anything else that's all ATP. Anyway, Damien, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you later.
Yep.
All right. And by the way, we've got somebody in the chat I've never seen before. So, Departamento Benavides, thank you for joining us today. Remember me to Masu when, this reminds him, I think he's saying, of Masu in a final in Viña del Mar in 2005. I think he had a 6-0 record against someone. So maybe Departamento is from Chile. Is Masu's from Chile, right?
Imasu is from Chile, but Luis Horna is from Peru, I think. So maybe he's
And
actually
Viña del Mar is a very nice place.
Viña del Mar is in Chile. Yeah, so because he's talking about the win that Masu had, I would assume that he definitely will be Chilean. But yeah, I actually didn't know that he would have a 0-6 record against Horna. That's like a very poor record against a guy like that, I think. For Masu, for a top 10 player who already had an Olympics win, right?
Remember me as this. It's a funny one that I often hear non-native speakers. They don't really have this reminds me of something. I think I've heard Rafa say it a few times. This remembers me of, and it means reminds me. Viña del Mar, by the way, is I've actually done stand-up comedy in Viña del Mar in Spanish, I think, or did I do it in English? Can't remember. But yeah, there we go. So really nice. It's a hipster town, about 2 hours from.
Oh no, but it was. Oh, I misunderstood this. So. Oh, I misunderstood. Yeah, I misunderstood this. So Masu won all of their matches. So that's the expected result, other than the Viña del Mar final. Yeah, and they ended up at 7-1 for Masu eventually, but that Viña del Mar final was the only one which Luis Horna won.
Okay, I wonder if the other 6 were very significant or not. Because if they weren't, then that would be quite painful for Masu to just lose that one, especially on home turf.
Yeah,
to a
never
Peruvian
lost a set to him before the Viña del Mar final, and then also beat him at the French that year. So at least he got revenge, and it was 2007, by the way.
Yeah, and it was a Grand Slam. All right, listen, I don't think you'll be speaking about that on ATP Weekly, but you'll be speaking about
probably not.
Okay, Tennis World. Go on.
Did Luis Horna? No, did I was just going to ask. Did Luis Horna maybe have some a win over Federer or something like that? Am I talking out of my mind right now? Or?
I don't know.
I don't really know. I mean, I can sort of remember that. Yeah, indeed. That was the French Open 2003. The first round, he beat Federer in 3 sets, and that was Federer losing at the French in the first round and then winning Wimbledon.
And that okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah. All right, cool. Tennis World, thank you for stopping by, and you know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
something is better, something is worse. Of course, when Rafael arrived in the ATP Tour, he was really young. He was 16 years old, and of course, he was not well done in this moment. Then, during many years, he improved. When you watch the first Rafael Nadal in Roland Garros, is not the same than the Rafael Nadal in 2008 or in 2010. I think the best player was in this moment, 2008, 2010, because he was young, he has power, he has a good decision. Something is better, something is worse. Of course, when Rafael arrived in the ATP Tour, he was really young. He was 16 years old, and of course, he was not well done in this moment. Then, during many years, he improved. When you watch the first Rafael Nadal in Roland Garros, is not the same than the Rafael Nadal in 2008 or in 2010. I think the best player was in this moment, 2008, 2010, because he was young, he has power, he has a good decision. Something is better, something is worse. Of course, when Rafael arrived in the ATP Tour,
There were with the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports, that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty, okay? And you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for, an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because, once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them.
Yeah.
So, for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
You're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what whether what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now, to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah.
And first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. but then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players. The other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest. Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is, I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing, but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove. But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it, right? No hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you. And that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously, helps with ranking and why certain players, are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. With the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty. Okay, and you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for, an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. because once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them.
Yeah.
So, for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
You're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what whether what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now, to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah.
And first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players. The other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest. Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is,
yeah,
I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing,
mm-hmm.
but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it. It's like no hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you. And that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously, helps with ranking and why certain players, are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. There were with the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty. Okay, and you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think the best players in the world just use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them.
Yeah.
So for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
You're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know what whether that what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah.
And first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players, the other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest. Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is,
yeah,
I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing,
mm-hmm.
but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it. It's like no hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you. And that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously, helps with ranking and why certain players, are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. There were with the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty. Okay, and you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for, an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because, once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them. Yeah. So, for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
You're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what whether what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now, to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah,
and first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players. The other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest. Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is,
yeah,
I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing,
mm-hmm.
but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it. It's like no hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you, and that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously helps with ranking and why certain players are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. There were with the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty, okay? And you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because, once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them. Yeah. So, for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
You're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what whether that what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now, to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah.
And first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players. The other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct, And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest, because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is,
yeah,
I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing, but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove. But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it, right? No hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest, because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you. And that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously, helps with ranking and why certain players, are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. There were with the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty, okay? And you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for, an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because, once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them. Yeah. So, for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
you're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know what whether what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah.
And first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players. The other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest. Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is,
yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing,
Mm-hmm.
but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it. It's like no hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you. And that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously, helps with ranking and why certain players, are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. With the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty. Okay, and you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for, an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again and you're feeling very tight and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and